with a chance of rain early next.
The gifts have been unwrapped. Somewhere a spoiled child is forcing a smile and stoically stares at what seems like a slight miscommunication. A plug gets pulled and the kid finds himself sitting in the shadow of a plastic tree, raging against the end of Christmas. I burp and a glass bottle shatters into 1,000 pieces after hitting concrete. Then the sound of spinning tires squeaking across the wet tarmac as I vanish into the night. I'm speeding through darkness down lonely highways heading towards an uncertain future, away from the echoes of cursed Christmas songs and the drunken voices of estranged relatives. I'm nodding off, being hypnotized by the stroboscopic reflections of endless streetlights flying past me. I swing across lanes and ignore the flashing high beams of the ongoing traffic as my hands slowly slip the steering wheel. I'm dreaming about this and that, but ultimately I find myself standing in an icy apartment, looking at my own bloated corpse, somewhere far, far away, at a different point in time and space. I poke my carcass with a stick and realize I'm frozen stiff. I feel intrigued and gaze into my own lifeless eyes, but there's nothing, just the absence of whichever. My body won't be found anytime soon, certainly. Maybe somebody might notice eventually once the unpaid bills start piling up. On the other hand, it feels strangely irrelevant, like it really doesn't matter anymore doing what seems to be a peculiar kind of personal apocalypse. I feel an unexpected jolt of electricity spazzing through my back like a botched spinal tap. I turn around and notice a slightly familiar cat, blinking at me with dignified curiosity. The phantasmagorical me, not just that cadaverous husk of what used to be a human. He yawns and stretches himself before turning around and casually walking towards the living room couch. I follow along and allow myself to be mesmerized by the white noise of a television set that seemingly appeared out of nowhere. Eventually, the static fades and turns into moving pictures of a distant past. It's the last day of spring. My mom is pushing a baby stroller across a crowded bridge. There's dark clouds gathering in the east as the river boats pass the exploding colors of the celebratory fireworks. Then rain sets in, and everybody is doused with the nuclear fallout of Chernobyl, which in retrospect might explain a thing or two. Cut to my maternal grandma's bedroom and her curtains gently blowing in the summer breeze. My hands are grasping the bars of a wooden playpen that's facing Jesus and the cross, alongside pictures of Mother Mary and the 12 Apostles, which kind of sounds like a weird avant-garde boy band, you know, singing about only eating fish on Fridays or so. Summer turns into autumn, and a presumably drunk David Hasselhoff is blasting "I've Been Looking for Freedom" while a jovial mob is tearing down the Iron Curtain. Then there's the Scorpions singing about the winds of change, looking a bit like stereotypical leather gays cruising for a bruising, Al Pacino style, but whistling some sentimental tune while tapping their foot at the public toilet stall. A few years later, I'm up late, writing a short story about a pair of adventurers being eaten alive by jungle ants, or something along those lines. My elementary school teacher slams his desk violently and yells something about this being the worst story he's ever read, before crumbling my homework. Then something in that giant head of his seems to click and he falls silent. He takes a deep breath and envisions his happy place, or more rather, Eastern Germany, before the winds of change started blowing and it became somewhat uncool to beat children. He remembers a sweaty naked man tied to a wobbly chair, the kind that's missing a crucial part of the seating area. My teacher gently smiles while swinging a knotted rope at whatever sex junk happens to dangle from that opening. Back when the words still made sense, prior to the name changes and him being forced into hiding. I like to think that my teacher eventually suffered an aneurysm watching that jungle part of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm sure he has opinions on Shia LaBeouf, too. Him being the kind of psycho that must have been rooting for the bad guys in holes. Now, he's foaming at the mouth, watching Indiana's illegitimate greaser son swinging vines like Tarzan. Comrade Igor, defeated by a bunch of wild monkeys, fucking ants, preposterous. That said, maybe Colonel Stasi was right after all. Still, that's between him and Steven Spielberg. Or George Lucas, for that matter. I hope he got a kick out of Dial of Destiny when Archimedes met Indiana Fleabag and the German Luftwaffe during the siege of Syracuse. Good times, for sure. Back in Dreamland, I feel another jolt of sudden electricity and pass out. I wake up on a stretcher surrounded by a bunch of paramedics armed with defibrillators. I gasp for air like I was hit with a syringe worth of adrenaline before my heartbeat normalizes and my eyes narrow down again. Wow, you actually survived, says a flabbergasted Autobahn cop. He points to the smoky ruins of what used to be my car. I quietly raise a thumb and force a smile, like that ungrateful child during Christmas. Then the ambulance door slams shut as I start nodding off again. And that's how it went. Granted, I don't like this time of the year, never minding any near-death experiences. Something about it just doesn't sit right. It's that insufferable twilight zone between Christmas and New Year's Eve. It makes me feel depressed about getting older and popping hemorrhoids while contemplating the winds of change and modern politics. Maybe that's what Kamala Harris was referring to while urging her audience to consider the significance of the passage of time, repeatedly. But then, I enjoy the idea of it potentially being a kind of MK Ultra trigger phrase meant to activate a hidden sleeper cell, generously funded by your very tax dollars. Imagine some Leon the Professional looking dude hunched over a bowl of cereal, watching a campaign speech. Someone says the line and his programming slips into gear. And then, a few days later, someone not named Seth Rich is found dead, suffering from what seems like a double-tap gunshot wound. Clearly a suicide, of course. Either or, the older I get, the greater the significance of the passage of time seems to become, as the winds of change keep accelerating at an unsustainable pace. Like we're reluctant passengers in a rocket-propelled Pontiac Fiero roaring towards outer space. All while someone named Tyrese is holding the steering wheel. I guess, no matter the amount of duct tape and band-aids, we're going to crash and burn eventually. Time will reduce us to a smoldering wreck, sooner or later. But there won't be any CGI reviving us, because life isn't a movie. Maybe the trick to lasting happiness and contentment is ignorance. Just don't think about it. Let the year pass and keep on living, for a while at least. And that's it.